Back like I never left.
Back like you never left, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. I've been sick 2 out of the 3 last weeks.
Hey, man, that happens to the best of us, right?
Bro, but it doesn't even happen to me like that, dude. I pride myself on, like, you know what, man? I'm working out. I'm eating healthy. The whole deal. And just something. So it wasn't COVID or anything, but just I just lied to everyone.
My guy got the bear bug, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Just like bad allergies, just like had a cough. I was losing my voice, so obviously can't film a podcast if you don't have your voice.
Right.
And so, you know, all that fun stuff. But we're
yeah,
back
I was trying to replace him, as you've seen, but you know, he just stepped through and
yeah,
he's
I
not
know.
sick
Well, hey,
anymore.
I get it, you know, it's just someone got to reach out to this international audience.
Yeah, no, man. I think it's gonna be a great episode.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot on my mind. I got some notes, so
snap.
I'm prepared. You know.
Yeah, he was ready to rock and roll behind the scenes. He was going over. He's like, I got something to talk about today.
Yeah, no, I think something a recurring theme that I've been having lately is because I think a lot of the time we try to get new revelation, and for people who don't know what revelation is, this might not be the textbook definition, but to kind of give you an idea of what revelation is, just kind of reveal truth, right? So I've been having a lot of revelation, just talking to a lot of my mentors, my spiritual mentors, and the through line theme has been, you know, my thought life, and so really focusing on my thought life, like the things that I'm meditating on, the things that I'm, you know, letting in my brain, letting in my mind throughout the days. And so that's something that, you know, I want to talk about, just making sure your thought life is correct, right? And so one thing that a beginning thing that I want to say is the source of the information that shapes your belief determines your life. And so whatever the source of your information is, right? So let's say the media is the source of your information, right? You're going to look at you're going to look at life through the lens of the media. And so all of your thoughts, all of your beliefs are going to come from that one source. So, you know, I guess like tip 1, right? Check your source, right? Where are you getting, you know, your current thoughts and your current, beliefs from? Where's that coming from? Is that coming from, you know, a source of abundance, or is it come from, something that's saying, you know, the whole world is burning and you need to focus on this, which I'm not saying you shouldn't work on. You shouldn't, because, you know, this is something that a lot of these gurus do. It's like, let's only focus on the positive, like there's no negative in the world, because I think that is stupid. That's not wise at all. Yeah. And so, I also wanted to say we have a studio guest today as well. Yes, I just realized. Yes, see him, so Jackson. You probably saw him in the beginning clip, but no, I think that we really have to focus on what is the source of our beliefs, and so, you know, by doing that, you start to train your thought life. I think I like to call it thought life, right? Because, you know, you can't separate your thoughts from this like reality we live in. And I know that's kind of like a meta thing that I'm trying to talk about right now. But no, I think there's this book called Thoughts Are Things. I've never read it, but I believe in the principle, right? So that your thoughts are actual things, right? So it's like the things that you're thinking, they are maybe not in the material, but in the subconscious mind, in the mind, they are things that you hang on to, that you live your life by. And so that's something I wanted to say right there.
No, that's huge, man. Well, it's funny because that's actually been a theme. I think it wasn't this week, because like this week's been crazy with Thanksgiving and everything. I've been trying not to get trampled by these little kids running around my house right now. But last week I was like, that was actually a big theme of mine, was just really focusing on the quality of your thoughts will control the quality of your life.
Yep.
And so like, what are you focusing on? I know it's a big theme that we talk about throughout the show, but I think it really is important. I think even we're talking about this with like different moves in the crypto market and like just with business and stuff like that, about going in with the right attitude, about how attitude impacts a lot of things. You know, attitude impacts your energy, like your thoughts control your life. It's like, I'm a big believer in what you focus on will definitely come to fruition in some way or another. So yeah, I think that's right on the money.
Yeah, and you know it too. I think I said, revelation, like revealed truth. It is not even a new revelation, because you know something I think I know I can get into, you two as well, is we're always trying to get like a new truth or a new revelation, or I just need like a new word or a new something, especially like Christianese, right? You know, I need in this season, I need a new word. Lord God. But that's some Christianese talk for you right there. Yeah. But you know, we say those things that we need a new word, but it's like, hey, like, what was the last word that you got? Like, what was the last truth that you got? Like, let's go back to that. And so I've been taking that in my life as like, hey, I don't always need to be reading a new book. Maybe I need to go back to, Atomic Habits.
Bro, that is so funny how, like, I literally have the same exact process as well, man. Because I think especially for me, I've been really focusing on, like, trying to read more, get more information. And like you said, it's this constant process of like new friends, new location, new music, new books, new whatever. And it's like, no, what were we doing earlier that actually worked pretty well the first time? You know what I mean? And going back on the things that really changed my life, and especially digging into books like Atomic Habits, Think and Grow Rich. Like,
As a Man Thinketh, which everyone knows by this point. That's my favorite book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I think that matters, man. Like, just doubling down on what has already worked, because sometimes there doesn't need to be a new beginning or a new chapter for you to be able to get the change you're looking for.
Yeah, sometimes, and this is about to sound so corny. God, I hear my Gary V corniness coming out.
Patience. Garage sales.
No, but, sometimes the setback is a setup, right? As corny as that sounds, and I think I can definitely hold on to that word. Only because this year has just been so dramatic of ups and downs. It's like, whoa, what the heck just happened? Yeah. But I think really, those setbacks are to set me up. Only if though, because I think there's a big if you learn what happened, right? Because, mistakes aren't inherently bad themselves. Mistakes are only bad when it happens twice. So if you allow that to happen and you don't learn from that thing and extrapolate the truth and extrapolate what you need to get from that, and you're just like, ups and downs and those just bad things. It's like, but what did you take? What principles did you take from that in order to, live a better life, to get a new revelation, right? If we're going on that path, right? Don't let that thing happen twice, 3 times, 4 times. But the sad part is, in order for people to reach a next level, sometimes they have to hit a brick wall, and we know.
Oh my gosh, bro! Like, it's been. I think that's kind of like, it's funny to me because I feel like I've been able to watch various people throughout my life, just growing up and stuff like that, kind of. There's 2 different learning styles, right? There's the one style that has to learn by bumping into the walls and kind of slowly, getting to where they need to go.
Course correcting.
Yeah, exactly. And then other people are kind of watching what's going on. Like, okay, they bumped into that wall, that wall, that wall. Let me just go this way and just kind of pivot off the path a little bit and just try not to repeat mistakes that you've seen from around you. And so I think that's important as well, to be able to be observant, to be aware, and try not to repeat mistakes. Because it was funny, that your little thing right there just reminded me of that TikTok sound where the lady was like, what did you learn from this lesson? It's like, then I'm going to do it again.
Oh my gosh, right?
But but that's a joke. We kind of laugh about it, but that's a real thing, man. People repeat mistakes all the time. And so I'm with you on that in terms of like, it's okay to make a mistake once because you need to learn and like things happen, life happens, whatever. But don't get in this process of repeating mistakes and just making that a habit.
I'll even say this because I think it's good to give some grace. I know sometimes I'm really like stark and hard on some things. But hey, look, I mean, we all make mistakes. I know I've made a ton of them, especially this year. I mean,
even like yesterday.
Right. Making mistakes. I think, again, it is a learning process. So maybe that learning process for you is failing a ton of times. But at some point, you do have to catch it and like, all right, I'm not going to let this happen again, because I'm looking back now and saying, hey, when I do this or when this happens, it's not too good. Things don't pan out how they should. And so I think that's something to think about. And a word that I just said was principles, right? And I think, what principles are you living your life by, right? And so I'm going to spew out a couple principles. And this is not, this is something I do want to say, because I think, with these clips on Instagram and stuff like that, we could sound so smart, and this is like all of my brain.
I know, dude.
No, a lot of the stuff that I spew, I'm standing on the shoulders of people that I learned from, right? 100%. So like my spiritual mentors, like a lot of this is from a conversation that I had with a mentor of mine, right? And so just like principle, I just wanted to say that because again, right? Like social media will make you think that everyone's skin is clear and everyone makes $100K a month, which is a lie, But I just kind of wanted to put that out there. But to this point, right? Principles. Something that that we were talking about is like, what principles are you currently violating in your life? For instance, right? A principle is that sleep is a principle. In order for you to live and feel revitalized and feel good, you need good sleep. In order to be healthy, you need to be drinking water. That's a principle, right? I mean, our bodies are made up of whatever percentage. It's really high though.
Like 98.
See, I'm not that smart. Our bodies are made a big percentage of water. So in order to live and be a functioning human being, you need water, right? And so that's a principle. Oxygen is a principle. Exercise is a principle. Preparedness is a principle, right? Because if you're not prepared for what's to come or what's coming, then you'll miss whatever that is you're supposed to get it. Maybe it's a new revelation, or maybe, it's something that you need to learn, whatever it is. Maybe it's a relationship that you could have missed, that you could have gotten, but you weren't prepared. So I think preparedness is a principle. And something, it was when I was talking to my mentor, he was saying all those principles, and I'm very, As a Man Thinketh, as we know, that's my favorite book. And so is psycho-cybernetics are kind of the same. It's kind of the same theme, and so a principle that I was thinking was your thoughts. Your thoughts themselves are principles. Like I said a moment ago, that thoughts are things, right? So what you meditate on and what you think about, I think that's a principle of your life, because as you look at your life and you trace back your thoughts, you'll say, oh shoot, that came from my thoughts. Like my literal thoughts produced this thing. As far as, and I know you have a lot to speak about this, but anxiety, as far as anxiety, right? A lot of that starts in the mind of what you allow to go through. Now, I know anxiety can be a thing that people really deal with, and it's hard to get by, but I would say a good 50% of that can get chopped down just based on your thoughts alone. And so I think that's something to meditate and think about, is like, hey, what is my thought life? What principles of my thoughts am I violating? That's so good if you really think about it. Clip that. Pat myself on the back. No, but seriously, like, what about your thoughts are you violating? Are you talking down about yourself? Right? It's a principle I think as well is, how you deal with success, not only yours, but others. Because I think that's a big principle as well. When people are having success, how are you? Are you like, oh, like they cheated to get up there? Or you like, oh man, I'm excited that happened for you? Because what people don't know, and this can get kind of woo-woo, but if you see someone else's success and your immediate thing is to look down at it, you will never have success. You'll never have success. Because if you can't just see the goodness in that, like, oh man, great job. Like anytime my friends or anyone, has success around me, I'm their number one supporter all the time, because I know just as a principle of just supporting, but secondly, I know that supporting them, that's only going to make them feel much better. That's going to make the situation better rather than just being like, oh, like, me being upset because I didn't have the success. That's such a toxic and I would almost say evil way of looking at the world. I know I talked a lot, so I'll shut up.
Well, no, it's good. I mean, clearly, came in with the topic, which was sick to see. But because I heard they were talking about this similar concept in terms of like gauging your first reactions to someone's success, and then being able to kind of judge. Okay, if you felt that way, like like they shouldn't have that. Why do they have that? Why isn't it me? Whatever. I think if anything, it's kind of to check your mindset in terms of, do you have a scarcity or an abundance mindset? Because the way that people react, if you have a negative reactions towards someone else's success, that implies that there's only a scarce amount of success and not everyone can win, implying that, oh, if they won, that means that I can't win. If I win, that means that you can't win. And that's just a broken lens, because the truth is that's just not true. You'll
live a small world. And I think I say that a lot in terms of people who are racist, people who are prejudiced, right? If you have that certain thought pattern, you'll live a small world, because one, you're not accepting of other people, you're not accepting of other people's reality and their success, and so you to me that kind of cancels out anything that could happen for you. And again, that sounds woo woo, but it really isn't, because I mean even the thought of, the whole manifesting thing, right? Which is kind of,
it's been a buzzword, man. Like, it's actually shocking to me how many people, well, even people who don't even claim that they're like religious or spiritual or whatever, kind of throw this word like manifest around. And it's kind of funny how people will take the word manifest, and there are principles that I feel like are just true of the universe in general, in terms of like, okay, what you focus on is going to tend to come towards you. Like, okay, if you're focused on making money and that's your number one priority, if you're doing the right things, you're taking the right actions, you're studying the right material, et cetera, like that will come to you. But people are in this weird state of mind where it's like, oh, like I'm going to lay around and just manifest in my mind if I visualize. And I do think visualization is important. I think that focus is important. So I'm not like discounting that. But if you're relying on just that alone, that's just never going to be enough, man.
No, I think what you're looking for is an anchor to that, right? It's not just like I'm manifesting and believing, but what is holding that? What, like, to me, it feels like it's gonna bottom out, right? If all of your manifesting a success is coming from you and your mind and your thought, now, like you said, all of that stuff is a principle, right? Because we can even look at it from a biblical view. There are biblical principles that if people, like for instance, like the book of Proverbs, there are biblical principles. If you look at the book of Proverbs and look at it in a way of like, hey, I'm gonna apply this to my life, you will see success, right? But if there is no anchor, and that anchor to us is God, and we can get, deep into it. That's a whole different thing. Yeah, that's a whole different thing. But, if there is no anchor and it's just you and your thoughts and you're manifesting and trying to make this happen, that thing is going to bottom out at some point. Right. Something that I wanted to say as well, just kind of on the tune of success is, I'm happy, of the success that I've had this year. Right. But I think, a principle that I feel like I'm kind of interacting with now is, being stopped for my good, right? So I'll kind of go into that a little bit. So a lot of the times it's kind of like the setup, the setback is the setup kind of thing. It's kind of like, I'm going to say it in a less corny way right now, but I think that sometimes we get held back from things, from certain success, from certain things that we really, really want, because if we would have got it at that time, we would have squandered it. Right. It's kind of like the parable of the son who got his wealth and he squandered it because he got it too soon. Right? He got that wealth too soon. Right. And so, and I think there's even a verse in Proverbs of like, don't rush to be rich, right? And follow me, because this is all in the same thought right here. So what I'm saying about that is, like, sometimes we wish and we hope and we try to manifest these success, but it's not in the right season. And you don't, something that so I heard someone say is I don't want to handle anything outside of God. So if I have to go get it myself, if I have to go on all of my grit, then I don't want that, because now you have to sustain it out of God, and I don't want that kind of life. Right. But going back from what I was saying a moment ago is, it is, the things that you're held back from is most of the times. So if you're held back from a success, that's more the blessing sometimes than actually getting the thing you wanted, because when you've gotten it, you probably wouldn't have had the right stewardship. You probably don't have the right knowledge, the right experience. It's like you really want that thing, right? For instance, like people who really want to be millionaires, right? And let's say you become a millionaire at a young age, but you just squander all your wealth. You just like, Golden Goose hair, Gucci hair, Prada hair, you're just going off, right? Yeah. Getting all the things, whether let's say you waited till you were a more mature area, and then you got that wealth. Oh, wait, I know how to handle my money because all these years I've had to work with a little. So now I know how to stretch this stuff up. Well,
I think for me, a big theme of a lot of that stuff has been like congruency in terms of like just checking your thoughts and your patterns and stuff like that. Because I think for me, like sometimes you'll say, oh, this thing is a priority in my life. But if you actually track the actions of what you're doing, do your actions say this is a priority in your life? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because the whole like corny actions speak louder than words and blah, blah. There's a lot of truth to that, man, in terms of like, relationships and stuff. I'm sure like people have been told like, oh, like you're a priority in my life. I love you, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then like, do their actions actually say that? Mm-hmm. And so that's why nowadays, like, shout out to the 5 love languages or whatever. Mine's like words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. But a big thing of mine has been like, okay, I can't just get caught up in what people are saying. It's like, what are they doing? Mm-hmm. And so I think for you, like, okay, my health is a priority. We're heading towards the end of the year, New Year's resolutions, all that stuff. Everyone's going to be a millionaire and rip next year, apparently.
Yeah, don't say new year, new me. And I'm not even just saying that on a corny thing, but you know what too? Here's another principle, right? But no, when you say, so okay, when you say I'm going to hit this goal and like you said, your actions don't follow it, your brain is now telling yourself you're not capable of that thing. And so that's a very dangerous place to look at, because then in 6 months you're going to be broken down, depressed, and feeling stupid because honestly though, right? Yeah, because your actions didn't line up with that thing that you said you were going to do. So now you're going against your character, right? And then we talked about that a lot as well. But when you do things that's against your character and then you follow the line and don't see that success, empty. When I tell you, you are going to feel empty, stupid, broke, disgusted, all the things, right? Yeah. And not only, again, a lot of the stuff that I speak from stuff that happened to me.
Yeah, 'cause you've been
right?
there. Right.
I've been there before where it's like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. But then, you look at the last 6 months, it's like, wait, I didn't do anything that I said, I wanted to. It's kind of like that Instagram clip, like your last 1,000 days, right? Yeah. It is that kind of thought of like you said, the congruency, consistency. So,
well, but I think even like looking at your previous goals and like, I've done this all the time. Actually, I did this like probably a month ago where I looked at like my previous goals that didn't get done. And I'm not just like looking at them like, oh man, like I wish they would have happened, whatever. But it's like, but why didn't they happen? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the self-awareness and the objective truth needs to kind of step in. And like, you kind of need to be harsh on yourself in that sense of like, listen, this didn't happen because A, B, C, D. This didn't happen because this actually wasn't a priority. I didn't put in the work, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I think in order to be able to accomplish the goals and the things that you really care about, you have to have that objective lens of saying, okay, this is why it didn't work last time. Making a plan, sticking to the plan, and then actually being able to see it through. Because I think that's where the power comes from.
Yeah,
I've been guilty of making a plan and then having really weak follow through. And so I'm like just making all these plans, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then my follow through is like, okay. And then I've had on the other side where it's like I'm taking massive action. I'm not really having this amazing plan, but it's working together because I'm actually taking action. So I feel like if anything, man, like maps and strategies and blah, 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 like it's good to have a good idea or a general direction of what you want to be doing and the things that you care about. Because I do think that clarity is important. But at the same time, if I've got to pick between like mapping out, like being really heavy on that side or taking a lot of action, I think nowadays, man, I'm more about action than making plans.
All about action. Yeah. Because, it's kind of like that idea. And plus, this is a clippable episode. Wow. I'm just in my mind like, yo, clip it. Where is I going? You were saying, action. Yes, action. Yeah. That's where I was going. Action is the best currency. So for instance, like, I think the same thing about, where is I going with that? Actions, actions. That's how I'll just talk about actions because I was thinking about 10 things at once. No, actions are the thing, right? Because we can talk all day, and I know I have, right? Talk, oh yeah, I'm gonna reach this goal, I'm gonna do that. But it's funny. A lot of the times talking about it feels like the success. Yes. And that is so dangerous.
Well, no, and there's even I was watching a YouTube video on this, funny enough, that actually talked about you get a dopamine hit from actually being able to plan stuff out. They do the same thing with like trip planning. How like if you're planning out a certain trip, like you imagine yourself being there, you see it, so even like in terms of like material success, like being a millionaire or whatever, like you visualize it, you see it. And I do think there's power in strategy. I do think you should have a map. I do think there should be some clarity there. So you're not just taking random action and random directions because that's also just extremely ineffective. But at the same time, it's like you got to be able to double down and say, you know what, this is the plan. Great, the plan is set. Now let's do.
Yeah, no, you have to because like you said, that dopamine hit. You heard me? I'm like, yo, that sounds crazy. That dopamine hit does come on the planning because it's so fun, right? Who doesn't like to plan out their $1 million dream? I've done it millions of times. The dream house,
the dream vacation, the whatever.
We've done it millions of times,
course,
right?
Of course.
So it's nothing bad about that, but it's good to check it. It's like, okay, cool. Right. We went through and like that's something I always say to you when we have those really good talks. It's like, okay, but what now? Now what? That's a question I always ask after a good dopamine, good feeling thing. It's like, okay, good, but what are the steps? You know?
Well, and even shout out to Ty Lopez because he was the one who got me into like entrepreneurship, social media marketing, all this stuff. But he had this really good saying of like, everyone wants to be rich, everyone wants these things, everyone has their lists of what they think they deserve and blah blah blah. But the question is, do you deserve it? Yeah, and that's something that I ask myself about like my goals throughout the year, the goals for my life. Like, are my actions being congruent with what I say I want? And then based on those actions, have I done enough action to genuinely say that I deserve to have what I say I want? And I think that's been a big thing for me of just being congruent with that, taking action, and then just being honest, man. You got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, just what you said kind of goes back to what I was saying a moment ago. It's like, what principles are you violating, right? What principles are you violating on your own life? What do you have standards, right? That's something that, do you have standards for your life, right? Do you know what it looks like when you wake up? What time are you going to wake up? Or you just kind of like, I'll roll out about 8:30, and then 8:30 I'll get, like, or you're like, no, 8:30, maybe 8:30 is your time. You wake up at 8:30, you're going to do X, Y, Z. What are the standards in your life? And I think that's what's got us very far is because we have, and maybe we have, a little too high standards or whatever, you can kind of say that. But, I feel like our standards are so high, especially, getting someone who kind of has the same standards as you, they can push you, right? Because it's like, yo, here's my standard for this, and I don't move on that. Because we both are like that in certain areas. It's like,
you have to.
Yo, here's where I stand, and that's it.
Well, I mean, the world's going to test you. So if you don't have those standards, you're just going to be blown in every direction the wind takes you. So I think you need to be able to have your own set of rules for your life that you follow and your non-negotiables and being able to go off of that. Because I don't think you should have this 50-point list of every random thing, but I think you should have 5 or 6 core principles of your life that you're going to follow through on. Because I think going back to your other point, it's like if you don't do what you say you're going to do, you begin not to trust yourself. So whenever you're in that down place, you're not going to be able to truly believe that you can take yourself out because what's going to be different? You just